A retired military handler reunites with his loyal service dog after years apart, but what begins as a heartwarming moment quickly turns into heartbreak. Why does the dog, once his protector and savior, now see him as a threat? Stick around to witness an emotional journey of trust, resilience, and redemption. Alex stood at the entrance of the bustling veteran fundraiser, his heart pounding in anticipation. Among the sea of people milling about and the excited barking of dogs, he scanned the area for one familiar face, or rather, one familiar set of amber eyes. Bella, his military partner and trusted bomb-sniffing dog, had been his lifeline during the grueling missions in Afghanistan. For years, she had been more than a partner. She had been his guardian and closest confidant in a world that often felt unrelenting. Now, years later, after months of paperwork and waiting, he was finally going to see her again. His hands tightened around the leash of the therapy dog he had adopted, Duke, who wagged his tail at the sights and smells around him. But Alex's focus was unwavering. He replayed the last time he saw Bella in his mind, her looking back at him from the transport truck, her ears pinned back, unsure why he wasn't getting in with her. It had been one of the hardest days of his life. He had told himself this reunion would be a joyful one, a moment of closure they both needed. When Alex finally saw her, his breath caught in his chest. There she was. Bella. Her caramel-colored coat, slightly grayer than he remembered, glistened in the sunlight. Her ears perked up as she sniffed the air, her strong and graceful stance a testament to the years she had served and endured. She looked familiar but different, more guarded. "Bella," Alex called softly, stepping forward. He crouched, his arms open wide, and waited for her to recognize him. For a brief moment, her ears twitched and her gaze locked onto his. He saw something, maybe recognition, maybe hesitation, but before he could take another step, Bella's lips curled back. A low growl escaped her throat. Alex froze. The crowd around them quieted, sensing the tension. Bella's growl turned into a bark, sharp, loud, and commanding. Then, to Alex's horror, she lunged forward, teeth snapping, catching the sleeve of his jacket and grazing his arm. Gasps echoed around him as he stumbled back, letting go of Duke's leash. Bella barked again, but handlers quickly intervened, pulling her away. Alex, holding his grazed arm, stood there stunned. This wasn't the reunion he'd imagined. "She doesn't recognize me," he whispered to himself, though deep down, he feared the truth was far more complicated. Alex sat on a bench near the fundraiser grounds, nursing the small graze on his arm while Duke rested his head on Alex's knee, sensing his distress. He couldn't shake the moment Bella had lunged at him. That wasn't the Bella he knew. The Bella he remembered would have been ecstatic to see him. What had happened to her? Determined to find answers, Alex approached one of the event organizers, a middle-aged woman named Carol. She had been instrumental in coordinating the reunion and was the one who had first informed Alex that Bella had been reassigned to another handler after his discharge. "I don't understand," Alex began, his voice filled with frustration and hurt. "Why would she act that way? We were inseparable." Carol sighed and motioned for Alex to follow her to a quieter spot away from the crowd. "Alex, I know this is hard," she said gently, "but Bella's been through a lot since her reassignment. The handler she was placed with didn't treat her well." Alex's stomach churned. "What do you mean? What happened?" Carol hesitated, then continued. "There were complaints about neglect, even signs of abuse. By the time we got her back, she was a shell of herself, distrustful, nervous, even aggressive in certain situations. We've done what we can to rehabilitate her, but she's not the same dog you remember." Alex felt a wave of guilt crash over him. He had trusted the system to care for Bella when he couldn't, and it had failed her. "I need to help her," he said, his voice resolute. Carol nodded. "It won't be easy. Rebuilding that trust will take time and patience. But if anyone can reach her, it's you." Alex reached out to a veterinary behaviorist who specialized in traumatized dogs. Over the next few days, he learned that Bella's aggression wasn't personal. It was rooted in survival instincts born of her traumatic experiences. The behaviorist explained how small, consistent actions, recreating positive memories and using familiar commands. "She doesn't hate you," the behaviorist assured Alex. "She's just afraid of being hurt again. You have to show her that you're still the same person who loves her." Holding that hope close, Alex began crafting a plan to reconnect with Bella. It wasn't going to be easy, but he owed it to her and to himself to try. Alex stood at the edge of the field where Bella was being kept, her leash held loosely by a trainer who was cautious but firm. He had spent hours reviewing the behavioral specialist's advice, replaying memories of their missions together, and building the courage to try again. This time, he wasn't expecting immediate results, just a chance to show Bella he was there for her. "Bella," Alex called softly, kneeling at a safe distance. He avoided eye contact as the specialist had instructed, keeping his body language relaxed. Bella's ears flicked at the sound of his voice, but her body remained tense, her tail low, signaling her unease. He placed a small object on the grass between them, a worn-out tennis ball. It was the same ball they had played with during downtime in Afghanistan. "Remember this?" he said, keeping his tone calm and steady. Bella sniffed the air, her muscles still taut, but curiosity began to edge into her expression. She took a cautious step forward, her nose twitching. Alex stayed motionless, letting her come to him at her own pace. Slowly, she reached the ball and nudged it with her nose, her gaze darting between the ball and Alex. He fought the urge to reach out, knowing it could undo the fragile progress they were making. "You're doing great, girl," Alex murmured. "Take your time." Over the next few days, Alex continued these visits, always bringing something familiar, a scent from their old gear, a command she once knew, or a treat she loved. Bella remained guarded but began to inch closer each time. Her growls turned into cautious sniffs, and her rigid posture softened ever so slightly. One evening, as Alex sat cross-legged in the field, Bella took the final step. She approached him fully, her head low, and nudged his knee. Alex's breath hitched as he held still, letting her make the first move. When her cold nose brushed against his hand, he felt a wave of emotion he hadn't expected. "Good girl," he whispered, his voice breaking. For the first time, Bella's tail gave a tentative wag. It wasn't full trust, not yet, but it was a start. The house was eerily quiet as Alex settled into his chair with a book, Bella lying near his feet. Weeks of patient effort had brought them to this moment, a fragile peace where she could rest beside him without flinching. Her trust wasn't fully restored, but it was building, piece by piece. Duke, his other dog, snoozed nearby, their calm companionship a comfort. Suddenly, Bella's ears perked up. Her body stiffened, and a low growl rumbled in her throat. Alex immediately tensed. "What is it, girl?" he whispered, closing the book and standing up. Bella's growl grew louder as she bolted to the front door, her nose pressed against the crack, sniffing furiously. The sound of glass shattering in the back of the house sent Alex's adrenaline surging. Someone was breaking in. He grabbed his phone and a flashlight, his military instincts kicking in. "Stay close, Bella," he said, though his voice wavered slightly. Bella stayed at his side as they moved toward the kitchen, her growls turning into sharp, warning barks. Duke joined them, his tail stiff and alert. The sight of two large dogs barking furiously might have been enough to scare off most intruders, but this wasn't just any break-in. Alex rounded the corner to see a shadowy figure rifling through drawers. The intruder turned, startled by the barking, and made a move toward Alex with what looked like a crowbar. "Get back!" Alex shouted, but before he could react further, Bella sprang into action. She lunged at the intruder, her teeth sinking into the sleeve of his jacket, her growls ferocious and unrelenting. The man panicked, dropping the crowbar and struggling to shake her off. Duke joined the fray, barking and snapping, forcing the intruder to retreat. Alex quickly called the police, his heart pounding. "Good girl, Bella. Hold him," he encouraged. Bella's grip was firm but controlled, just as she had been trained. When the police arrived minutes later, the intruder was subdued thanks to Bella's bravery. As they led the man away, Alex knelt beside Bella, stroking her fur. "You remembered, didn't you?" he said, his voice filled with awe and gratitude. Bella's tail wagged hesitantly, and for the first time in years her eyes reflected the trust and loyalty Alex had known so well. The morning after the break-in, Alex sat on his porch, a steaming mug of coffee in hand and Bella lying at his feet. The previous night's events played over and over in his mind, but the overwhelming emotion he felt wasn't fear. It was pride. Bella, his loyal partner, had risen to the moment and proven her instincts were as sharp as ever. She had remembered her training, her purpose, and most importantly, their bond. Duke dozed beside Bella, and for the first time since the reunion, Bella seemed truly at ease. Her eyes followed Alex's every move, not out of suspicion or caution, but with the trust he had worked so hard to rebuild. As Alex scrolled through his phone, a notification caught his eye. A local news station had picked up the story of the break-in and Bella's heroism. Within hours, messages of praise and gratitude poured in from fellow veterans, dog handlers, and community members. "She's amazing," Alex murmured, running his hand over Bella's soft ears. "But we already knew that, didn't we, girl?" Bella tilted her head at him, her tail wagging lightly. Later that week, Alex and Bella were invited to a local event honoring veterans and service animals. Standing on the stage in front of a crowd of supporters, Alex shared their story, the struggles they had faced, Bella's trauma, and their journey back to trust and healing. "Bella saved my life more times than I can count during our missions," Alex said, his voice steady but emotional. "And last week she saved it again. She's a reminder that no matter how broken we feel, we can heal. We just need someone to believe in us." The crowd erupted into applause, and Bella barked once as if acknowledging their appreciation. After the event, people approached Alex, some to share their own stories of resilience, others to simply thank him and Bella. A young boy with his own rescue dog hugged Bella gently, his mother tearfully telling Alex how their story had inspired her son. As the sun dipped below the horizon that evening, Alex sat with Bella and Duke in the backyard. Bella lay with her head on Alex's lap, her body relaxed and her breathing steady. For the first time in years, Alex felt whole again. "You're home now," he whispered to Bella, "and I promise you'll never have to feel afraid again." Bella's tail thumped softly against the grass as if to say she understood. The following weeks were a whirlwind of adjustments, but they were filled with hope and healing. Bella's demeanor continued to transform, her cautious movements now replaced by relaxed confidence. She no longer flinched when Alex approached her, and she began seeking his affection in small but meaningful ways, a gentle nuzzle here, a playful wag of her tail there. Alex incorporated their shared routines from their deployment days into their daily life. Every morning they went on long walks through the nearby trails. Bella's nose worked overtime, sniffing the scents of the forest, and Alex couldn't help but smile at her renewed energy. These walks became a symbol of their progress, a quiet reminder of the bond they were rebuilding. The community rallied behind them after hearing their story. Neighbors, inspired by Bella's bravery during the break-in, donated resources to help other retired service dogs. A local vet clinic offered Bella free checkups and care, ensuring she received the best treatment moving forward. One afternoon, while Alex was cleaning out the garage, he stumbled upon an old box of their gear from their time in Afghanistan. Inside was Bella's favorite toy, a tattered rope she had refused to let go of during their missions. Holding it in his hands, Alex felt a rush of memories. The long nights, the dangerous roads, and the unwavering trust they had shared. When he brought the toy out to Bella, her reaction was immediate. Her eyes lit up, and she bounded toward him with a youthful energy he hadn't seen in years. Grabbing the rope, she tugged playfully, her tail wagging furiously. Alex laughed, dropping to his knees to join her in the impromptu game of tug-of-war. "You remember this, don't you?" Alex said, his voice warm and full of joy. "That's my girl." Later that evening, Alex sat by the fire pit in his backyard, Bella and Duke lying contentedly at his feet. The stars above twinkled brightly, and the warmth of the fire cast a golden glow over the scene. For the first time in years, Alex felt a sense of peace. Looking down at Bella, Alex whispered, "We've been through a lot, haven't we, girl? But we're stronger for it. Together." Bella shifted closer to him, her head resting on his knee, her trust in him now unshakable. The new chapter of their lives had begun, and it was clear it would be one filled with love, loyalty, and healing. The break-in had been the turning point not just for Bella, but for Alex as well. That single moment of bravery had reignited a sense of purpose in him, one he hadn't realized he was missing. He had spent years feeling adrift after his discharge, trying to adjust to civilian life. But Bella had reminded him what it meant to fight for something bigger than himself. A few weeks after the fundraiser, Alex attended a meeting organized by the local Veterans Association. The topic of the day was the treatment of retired service animals, a subject that struck a nerve for Alex. As he sat in the crowded hall, surrounded by other veterans and animal advocates, he listened to heartbreaking stories of neglect and abandonment. Many service dogs, like Bella, had been mishandled after their active duty, their sacrifices often overlooked. When it was Alex's turn to speak, he stood and took a deep breath, his hand lightly resting on Bella's head. "I'm here today because of her," he began, his voice steady. "This dog saved my life countless times in Afghanistan, and when I couldn't care for her anymore, the system let her down. She was mistreated, forgotten, and left to fend for herself. That shouldn't happen, not to these animals who give everything to protect us." The room fell silent as Alex recounted Bella's story, from their time overseas to the heartache of their reunion and the slow, difficult process of regaining her trust. He spoke about the emotional toll it took on both of them, but also about the joy of seeing Bella heal. "These dogs deserve better," Alex said firmly. "They're not just tools of war, they're our partners, our family. And it's up." His words struck a chord. After the meeting, several people approached him, asking how they could help. Inspired by the outpouring of support, Alex worked with the association to launch an initiative for retired service dogs. The program provided funding for veterinary care, behavioral rehabilitation, and rehoming efforts, ensuring that no dog would be left behind. Media outlets picked up on the story, with Bella often featured as the face of the initiative. Photos of her, alert and proud beside Alex, circulated online, sparking donations from across the country. Bella, once a symbol of trauma, had become a beacon of hope. One afternoon, Alex received a call from a fellow veteran who had been struggling with his own retired service dog. "I didn't think anyone would understand," the man admitted, his voice cracking. "But hearing your story, it gave me hope." "That's what this is all about," Alex replied. None of us should have to go through this alone, human or animal." As the weeks turned into months, Alex dedicated himself to the cause. He traveled to speak at events, worked with lawmakers to push for policy changes, and met with countless veterans who shared similar experiences. Bella was by his side every step of the way, her presence a constant reminder of why this work mattered. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Alex sat with Bella on the porch. The moonlight illuminated her caramel coat, and she rested her head in his lap, her eyes reflecting a quiet contentment. "You're not just my partner, Bella," Alex murmured. "You're my inspiration. Together, we're making sure no one ever forgets what you and dogs like you have done." Bella's tail thumped softly against the porch, her silent agreement speaking louder than words ever could. Alex hadn't expected the initiative to grow as quickly as it had. What started as a local program had snowballed into a nationwide movement, thanks in part to the power of Bella's story. Social media had been instrumental in amplifying their message. Posts about Bella's bravery and transformation went viral, accompanied by calls to action urging people to support service animals in need. The movement wasn't just about raising funds, it was about education. showing the world what these dogs endured during and after their service. Videos of Alex demonstrating Bella's old training routines began circulating online, paired with heartfelt stories of their missions together. One clip, showing Bella hesitantly but successfully responding to a search and rescue command, garnered millions of views. "People need to see this," Alex told a journalist during an interview. "These dogs aren't just heroes overseas. They deserve to be treated like heroes when they come home, too." The impact was tangible. Shelters that housed retired service dogs reported an uptick in adoptions. A veterinary hospital announced a new grant specifically for service animal care, inspired by Alex's initiative. And, for the first time in years, some states began reviewing policies regarding the retirement and rehoming of military and police dogs. But the most profound changes were on an individual level. Alex often received emails and messages from people who had been moved by Bella's story. One came from a woman whose son, a combat veteran, had been struggling with PTSD. After watching a video about Alex and Bella, he decided to adopt a retired service dog of his own. "Thank you," the woman wrote. "My son smiles again, he has purpose again. Because of what you and Bella have done, we have our family back." Alex read the email aloud to Bella one quiet evening as she lay curled at his feet. "You're changing lives, girl," he said, scratching behind her ears. Bella looked up at him, her amber eyes calm and steady, and nudged his hand with her nose. Their journey together had become a catalyst for change, proof of the healing power of love and trust. But for Alex, it was simpler than that. Bella wasn't just a symbol or a story. She was family. As the movement continued to grow, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. The work wasn't over, but with Bella by his side, he knew they could keep making a difference. Together, they were showing the world what loyalty and resilience truly meant. Months into their advocacy work, Alex began noticing a shift in his interactions with other veterans. What had started as casual conversations at fundraisers and events had grown into a deeper dialogue about shared experiences. Bella's story wasn't just inspiring change for service animals, it was bridging the gap between veterans and the civilian world, where understanding of their struggles often felt lacking. One such moment occurred at a town hall meeting. A young Marine, recently discharged and visibly grappling with reintegration, approached Alex after the discussion. His voice trembled as he spoke. "I thought I was the only one who felt this lost," he admitted. "Hearing you talk about Bella, about feeling like you failed her, it hit me. That's how I feel about leaving my unit behind." Alex placed a steady hand on the Marine's shoulder. "You didn't fail anyone," he said, his tone firm but understanding. "Coming home doesn't mean you left your brothers behind. It means you're carrying their legacy forward, just like I'm doing with Bella." The young man nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Bella, as if sensing his pain, nudged his leg gently, earning a small, grateful smile from him. Alex realized these moments weren't isolated. At nearly every event, someone shared a similar story of guilt, of loneliness, of struggling to find purpose after the uniform. These conversations reinforced Alex's belief that Bella's journey was more than just a story about a dog. To build on this, Alex began organizing workshops alongside his advocacy efforts. He called them Bridging the Gap sessions, designed to connect veterans with service animals and provide a safe space for dialogue. Bella played a central role in these sessions, her calm presence helping to ease even the most reluctant participants. During one workshop, a Vietnam veteran shared his experience of feeling forgotten after returning home. "Seeing you and Bella, it reminds me that we're not alone," he said, his voice thick with emotion. By the end of the session, bonds had been formed, stories had been shared, and walls had started to come down. Bella, once a dog who feared trust, had become a symbol of connection, her resilience reflecting the strength of the veteran community. As Alex packed up after the workshop, he looked at Bella lying by his side, her eyes tired but content. "You're doing more good than I ever imagined, girl," he said, his voice filled with pride. Bella's tail thumped softly in response. The sun was setting over the field as Alex watched Bella trot beside Duke, her movements steady and confident. The golden light caught her caramel coat, highlighting the faint gray that had begun to creep into her muzzle. She was aging, but she carried herself with the dignity and strength of the dog she had always been. A warrior, a protector, and now an advocate in her own right. Alex leaned against the fence, a soft smile playing on his lips. The past year had been transformative for both of them. Bella's story had sparked conversations about the treatment of retired service animals, inspired legislation, and built a network of support for veterans and their canine companions. What had started as a personal journey of healing had become something far greater than Alex ever anticipated. A young girl approached, holding her mother's hand. She was clutching a small bouquet of wildflowers. "Is that Bella?" she asked shyly, her wide eyes fixed on the dog that had become something of a celebrity. Alex knelt down, smiling warmly. "It sure is. Would you like to meet her?" The girl nodded eagerly. Alex called Bella over, and she approached calmly, her tail wagging gently. The girl hesitated for a moment before reaching out to pet Bella's head. Bella nuzzled her hand, earning a giggle. "She's a hero, isn't she?" the girl asked. Alex's throat tightened. "She is. The best kind of hero." Later that evening, Alex sat by the fire pit in his backyard, the soft crackle of flames filling the cool night air. Bella and Duke lay sprawled at his feet, their contented sighs blending with the sounds of the night. Alex sipped his coffee, reflecting on everything they had achieved together. The initiative had grown beyond his wildest dreams. Partnerships with shelters and veteran organizations were thriving, and communities nationwide had rallied behind the cause. Bella had become a symbol not only of resilience, but also of the enduring bond between humans and animals. Alex thought about the future, what he would do when Bella was no longer by his side. The thought was painful, but it also filled him with determination. Bella's legacy couldn't end with her. The next morning, Alex began drafting plans for a new project. A sanctuary for retired service animals, a place where dogs like Bella could live out their days in peace and comfort. He envisioned a space where veterans and their families could visit, connect, and heal alongside the animals that had given so much. As he worked, Bella lay beside him, her head resting on his lap. Every so often, she would lift her eyes to him, as if to remind him she was still there, still watching over him. "You've given me more than I could ever repay, girl," Alex said softly, scratching behind her ears. "But I'll spend the rest of my life trying." Bella's tail wagged slowly, her silent agreement clear. Together, they had turned pain into purpose, transforming their shared scars into a beacon of hope for others. As the first stars began to appear in the evening sky, Alex looked down at Bella, his heart full. "We've come a long way," he said, "and we're not done yet." Bella gave a small, contented huff and rested her head back on his lap. In that quiet moment, surrounded by the love they had rebuilt, Alex knew that their story was only the beginning of something much greater, a legacy that would endure far beyond them.